Now we're going straight out of the coconut tree through the end of brat summer. How's that for some Gen Z lingo? Well, we've been hearing a lot about how Vice President Harris and former President Trump are using memes and influencer interviews to try to appeal to America's youngest voting bloc. And now a new first-of-its-kind poll is trying to measure the impact of that outreach. Or to put it in Gen Z terms, if they have the political riz that just hits different. It found half of voters age 18 to 29 say they will back Harris, compared to a third behind Trump. And NBC's Savannah Sellers is here with more on that. Savannah, I actually have a child who is considered, Gen Z. I'm learning all these new terms.
I'm impressed.
I'm not sure I delivered them right.
Summer. You did.
All right, I'm trying. Gotta get with the times. Tell us what else we learned in these polls.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And I mean, you said it, first of its kind. This is really the only glimpse that we have so far, specifically looking at this particular generation now that we're 62 days out, right? But who's counting from the election? Let's take a look at the top issues they care about. First, you may not be surprised, this is kind of reflective of the electorate as a whole, right? Cost of living inflation. That is the #1 issue to this generation, pretty overwhelmingly at 31%, with a lot down below, pretty equal in terms of what they actually care about. When it comes to cost of living, and the economy, they have so many specific concerns, both about the country's economy as well as their personal finances. If you look right here, look, this is a huge number. 56% today thinks the economy, the economic conditions of the country as a whole, worse today than they were 1 year ago. It's a little bit more positive when we talk about their specific personal finances. 36% worse today compared to 34% better. Somewhat equal there. Here's a big one, though. When they think about if their generation is doing better or as good as their parents, are they going to be able to buy a home, for example? They do not feel good about this. Look at that number. Much harder to achieve. 64% say that's true for them to buy a home than it was for their parents' generation. They're also delaying life milestones because of their financial situation. 38% say they've delayed buying a home because of that, buying a car. All different types of big moments they say they are holding off on because of what debt is causing them to feel when it comes to their personal economic situation. One thing that was interesting, because I spoke with a bunch of Gen Z voters yesterday, is they have different ideas about who can solve this and how.
Yeah.
Several young people who are Republicans say, look, when it comes to what I think the former president could do in a second term, it would mean that I will feel better going to the grocery store, while others say those incentives that we're hearing about from the vice president on small businesses, things like that, for home buyers, for example, first-time home buyers, that might help me get ahead. So different ideas about how to solve it, but an issue that's top of mind for sure.
What else stands out to you about those conversations you had with these young voters?
Yes, so many interesting things, Anna. One of the big ones is the age of our politicians. Maybe not a surprise when it comes to Gen Z, but listen to the stat. 73% would support setting an age maximum for candidates to be eligible to run for president. Listen to some of what they had to say.
I feel very sympathetic towards elderly and stuff. Do I want my grandmother to be in office right now running the country as a 78-year-old? Absolutely not.
I don't think a man who is approaching 80 years old should be in charge of making decisions that will affect someone when they're long gone. My generation will have to go in and fix that, and we don't want to have to fix up a huge problem where we have to rebuild our democracy as well as rebuild our community.
Anna, the other thing that was really interesting to me, the vice presidential picks, they're actually sticking out to this generation. When it comes to Senator Vance, 32% say they have a positive view as opposed to a 47% negative view. Walz, it sort of flips here. 55% feel positively about him as opposed to 25% who feel negative. And a young Republican voter I spoke to said, Walz makes me nervous because I think people like him. While a young Democratic voter said, I think Senator Vance just seems sort of weird. That was the takeaway.
It's a word that has stuck. Well, yeah. Savannah Sellers, so fascinating.
Yes.
You can catch more of her conversation tonight on Nightly News. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you for having me.